What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I already shot this video once and my microphone up here is not working, so don't know what's going on with that. That sucks, but forgive me for being so up in the camera. I'm just using the camera mic because my external mic didn't pick up any of my audio, so love that. Anyway, it's been a minute. I needed a little break after NAMM, and I had a bunch of gigs and stuff lined up after NAMM, and been a little under the weather too, so just kind of, is what it is. But we're back, and gonna get into some good old-fashioned gear demo content. It's been a minute since I made a gear demo, and like I said in a previous video, I have a new guitar to talk about. Thumbnail. So this is a 1999 made in Japan Telecaster Custom. So I got this guitar because I've been doing a lot of cover band gigs lately, and I needed something just a little different. I love my Les Pauls, but the cover band does a huge swath of music, if you will, and I just needed some versatility. The Les Pauls, there were just some things that I didn't want to use a Les Paul on, right? We all know how I feel about Strats. I have talked about Strats a good bit, and me and Strats just don't really get along. So I figured I would try a Telecaster. Now, I've owned a Telecaster before, 25 years ago, maybe, when I was 14. I had a Tele, and it was just kind of like a parts caster build that me and my dad put together, and I didn't really dig it at the time because I was 14, and I just wanted something that would rock and roll, and, I wanted to play metal riffs, and the Tele just wasn't really doing it back then. But I figured I wasn't going to waste my time with a Strat because I knew how that would turn out. So I went hunting for a Telecaster. And, I've got some buddies that have Teles. My buddy Tyler that used to be in Witch Hunter, he had a Tele. And we used his Tele in the studio on some stuff. And I really liked it. And I particularly liked the pickup that he had in his Telecaster that we will get to and talk about in a second. So I figured I would go for a Tele. But I wanted to give myself the best chance possible of actually getting along with the Telecaster. So I went looking for a Telecaster Custom. So if you don't know anything about Telecaster Customs, I think they came out, sometime around the mid-70s, maybe early mid-70s. And again, I'm not a Fender expert, so I don't know. Don't, quote me on that. They might come out earlier or later than that. I'm not 100% sure. But I know they've been around a while. And they have a very peculiar kind of layout to them. Traditional Telecaster, you'd have your two knobs, volume and tone, here. And you'd have your three-way pickup switch down here. But the Telecaster Customs have this neat neck pickup, this wide-range Fender humbucker, which this is the stock humbucker. So I swapped everything else out, which we'll get to, but I really liked the neck humbucker, so I left it in there. And it has this kind of Les Paul style layout to it, which I figured would give me the best chance at getting along with the guitar. One of the issues that I have, I've talked about this before, even with other Gibsons, with SGs and stuff, is I'll be playing, I used to have a SG, used to have a Strat, I'd be playing them live, and I would go to do this, and nothing would happen because the pickup switch is not up there. My muscle memory is just so ingrained in how a Les Paul is laid out that my subconscious takes over when I'm playing a show, and I just go for the pickup selector and it's not there. Or I'd go for the volume knob on my Strat, and the volume knob's here, not down here, and I'd miss it completely and grab the tone knob and roll the tone off. And yeah, so I figured this would give me the best chance of liking the guitar. So what all did I do to it, and why did I do it? Well, I ran into some issues using the guitar live. So when I got the guitar, I immediately, I got it, 2 days later, played a gig with it. And immediately noticed that there were some things I was going to have to change. One of those things was the stock bridge. So this guitar, you can see here that the bridge has this lip by the saddles. On the stock bridge, that lip came all the way, out to the front of the bridge, all the way along the sides. And I think what that's for is, you've ever seen Strats and Tellies that have that ashtray thing? They call it an ashtray, right? And it goes over the whole thing here, right? I'm never in a million years going to use something like that. I don't know why you would even want it on there. It prevents you from being able to palm mute and do all kinds of things. So what I found was that I kept hitting that lip the way I anchor my hand on the bridge and play like this. And I kept hitting that lip with the pick, and that sucked. So I put this Godot bridge on it that has the lip shaved off, and it also has compensated bridge saddles. So, vintage Tellies, they have the 3 saddle bridge. Modern ones have the 6 saddle, so you ain't got to worry about it. But vintage style bridges only have the 3 saddles. I know the Fender guys say that's the tone. I don't know, and I don't care. I just knew that it made the guitar not intonate great. So I put compensated ones on it to, I say put on. I found this whole bridge already assembled like this with the compensated saddles and everything, and I was like, great, fantastic. So I went ahead and just put it on there, and it intonated really good. And that solved all those problems. The other problem that I ran into, and I know you're going to laugh at me because you're going to be like, Devin, it's a Telecaster. I know, but the bridge pickup was really noisy live. And it was feeding back. It was really noisy. And it was nowhere near as loud as my Les Pauls. So when you wear in-ear monitors, you can hear everything very hi-fi, right? And there was a massive drop in volume between this guitar and the Les Paul. So I had to have 2 patches built on my head rush, one for my Les Pauls with my normal volume, and then one that was really gained up, so that when I swapped the guitars, I didn't just lose my guitars in my in-ears, right? You probably didn't notice it too much, out front of house, but in my ears it was my guitar completely went away. I couldn't hear it at all. And the problem I was running into was sometimes I would forget to swap and I couldn't hear, or I would be on the telly patch and I would forget to swap back and I'd plug the Les Paul in and it would blow me out because it was so loud. So that was kind of a problem. I didn't want to have to go through the hassle of having to switch banks and patches just to make my guitar volumes equaled out, right? And I had some problems with the potentiometers. They were just kind of cheap. Once I got in there and pulled them out, they were those little bitty tiny alpha pots, and they're 25 years old. They were kind of dying and crackly and stuff. The other problem that I had was this input jack. So Tellies have this little circular style barrel thing that has these little metal pressure clips on the sides. And the jack's not screwed into the guitar at all. So I would be going to unplug my wireless pack, and I would pull the entire jack enclosure out of the guitar. And I was having to take a pair of pliers and squeeze the little clips on the sides and cram it back in there. That was just not something I was going to deal with. So I put the Les Paul style jack on there, fixed that. I wound up replacing the harness with a Gun Street wiring harness, which is a very nice wiring harness, and the pots are very smooth and they don't crackle anymore. Great. And I put in a Seymour Duncan hot rails. So I know I bought a Telecaster to have a Telecaster, and then I just slapped a humbucker in the bridge, right? Yes and no. And because this pickup is the size and shape that it is, and it mounts to the bridge and everything, you know, like a Tele pickup does, it does retain that Tele characteristic. And I hope when we get to the demo track, I hope you can kind of hear it. Even though I'm playing like heavy music, it still has like a brightness and a twang to it that like a regular full-size humbucker just doesn't have, right? But it has the output and the gain that will match my Les Pauls, so I don't have that volume disparity when I swap guitars. And that was the most important thing. But I think this pickup sounds really good. Like I said, my buddy Tyler had one in his Telecaster when he was in Witch Hunter, and we used that guitar on some stuff because it just added a very different characteristic than the Les Pauls, right? It was a good blend between my Les Pauls and his Tele. They sounded really great together. And one of my favorite bands, a band called Poison the Well, both their guitar players play Telecasters with Duncan Hot Rails in them. And they have some really sick guitar tones. So I was like, why not? I'll try it out. I'll throw it in here. And so far, so good. I'm loving it. Being like a 70s kind of, you know, inspired instrument, it does have the 3-bolt neck joint with the micro tilt. I like it. I haven't had any problems with it. I think the micro tilt's a cool feature. It makes it so you don't need a shim in the neck. You can just put a little Allen wrench in there and turn that, and there's like a little metal plate, and it will kind of like make a shim for it. It basically is a shim. It's an adjustable shim. I think it's a really cool feature. I know in the past people have complained about like they break sometimes, or the 3-bolt neck isn't as sturdy as the 4-bolt neck. I don't know. Said I've played maybe 7 or 8 shows with this guitar, and I haven't had any problems, you know, with anything like that. And it's a 25-year-old guitar, so, you know, take that for what it is. One of the other cool features that really sold me on this guitar is the headstock. It has a Strat headstock. So, typically, the Strat headstocks are reserved for the Telecaster Deluxes. Same guitar, it just has another one of these in the bridge position and like a regular, you know, kind of hardtail Fender style bridge instead of the Tele single coil. And like I said, the Deluxes have the Strat headstock, and typically the Tele Customs just have like a regular Telecaster headstock. Not the biggest fan of that shape, if I'm being honest. I just think it looks kind of goofy. And the 70s style Strat headstocks, to me, just look way more cool. I like the big, you know, logo and the big swoop here. I just think they look cool. So I found this on Reverb. The shop I bought it from said something like, yeah, you know, I guess some shop in Japan had wanted Tele Customs, but with Strat headstocks, so they kind of like custom ordered these or something. There was like a couple of them floating around. The shop had 2 of them. So I bought the one that looked the best, that wasn't as beat up. And yeah, so far I'm really digging it. Like I said, this pickup, it allows me to cover the traditional, more like Tele ground that I want to cover in my cover band. But as you'll see in the demo track, it still really does like the metal, you know, core, hardcore thing really well that I like to do with my original music. And so that's kind of what I wanted, was I wanted a guitar that would be more versatile than just like, I'm going to play it on a few songs in my cover band. I wanted to be able to use it for other things too. And doing these modifications to it has actually really turned it into a really nice live guitar. You know, being in a cover band, playing 4-hour sets, the Les Pauls get a little heavy, I'm not going to lie. And I can wear this guy a lot longer without straining my back. And, you know, I put some strap locks on it, of course. And, yeah, it's just been a great live guitar. I'm really digging it, and I can't wait to, you know, get it in the studio proper and maybe do some stuff with it. So, hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what you think about Tellies, but more specifically Tele Customs. I think this is a really cool take on the Telecaster. It's a little left to center, and I think it kind of has its own vibe to it, and I'm really digging it. So let me know what you think about the demo track. Let's see, the clean section at the beginning, all on the neck pickup. Then, you know, once it kicks in and gets heavy, we're all on the bridge pickup. And yeah, I use the Gojira X Neural DSP Amp Sim plugin, and I think it sounds cool. I think it has a really different kind of sound to it than just like, you know, the all-out Les Paul humbucker sound. So, hope you guys dig it. Let me know what you think, and I will be back soon.